Hi, this is Carl from Web Courses Bangkok, and this is Lesson 6, Zooming and Panning. Today we're going to be looking at how to look around your design and get really into it and see the details by using the Zoom tool. So we're going to look at two very important features of using Photoshop daily, which is zooming and panning. Let's have a look at where the files are. You'll find the files in the Beginners Web Design folder, Week 1, Files, and then Photoshop Basic Lessons, and you're looking for lesson6.psd. Once you've found the PSD, just double click and it will open up straight away. When you're using Photoshop, you'll zoom in and out a lot because you want to make sure that everything's perfect and aligned. That helps you make a really professional design. To zoom, you just need the zoom tool, which is right at the bottom on the left hand corner here. To zoom in, just select the zoom tool and then click on where you want to zoom. Alternatively, if you want to zoom into an area, click and hold and drag a selection box, and that will allow you to zoom into a specific area. Now to zoom out, just hold down the Alt key for PC users and Option for Mac users, and then click again and you'll actually zoom out. Now a better way of zooming in and out is actually using the shortcut. The shortcut for zooming in is Control or Command for Mac users and plus. And you can imagine to zoom out it's Control and minus. So that allows you to quickly zoom in. When I'm using Photoshop, I'm always zooming in and out very quickly, so you'll get used to using that a lot. So give it a try and see how it feels. Okay, so now you're used to zooming in and out, it's time for a little bit of a test. I've done a little exercise that's essentially spot the difference. So we've got two pictures, one on the left and one on the right, and they're obviously different. By zooming in, we can have a look at the fine details and have a look at exactly what's different. So give it a few minutes and have a go at seeing if you can spot all the differences. Okay. So now that you've had a go on the right hand side and you'll see a group called Differences. If you click on the Indicate Layer Visibility on the left hand side, you'll be able to see them. So let's zoom right in. So first of all, I'm going to move it over like this. And I can see that one of the first differences is the sign here that says Earth is gone. Below there we've got the Web Courses Bangkok logo, and we've even got the Web Courses Bangkok name here. Also, most importantly, is it's actually a little bit wider. So that's a couple of the changes that we've made. Now by zooming in, I was able to see those changes very clearly. Okay, when you're zoomed in, it's sometimes a bit of a pain to use the scroll bars on the right hand side to move everything around. It's not very fast, and you have to spend a little bit of time moving your mouse over and using the scroll bars. So a better way of doing this is using the pan effect or the hand tool. Now the hand tool itself is on the left hand side here, but I very rarely use the toolbar for this because there's a very easy shortcut, and the shortcut is holding down space. So just hold down space and you're actually able to pull your design around, so you can actually look at the details around it. Again, I can zoom right in, move around a little bit, check it, zoom out again, holding down space and move around. So try that yourself. Try holding down space when you're zoomed in and move around the design, and you'll find it much easier. I always imagine it like having a piece of paper on the table and moving that piece of paper around to be able to see what's on it a little bit better. So let's have a look at some of the other shortcuts available. So I'm going to do Control and minus as well, and that allows me to zoom out. Now there's a better way of doing this. I can actually press Z for the zoom tool and then right click and do actual pixels. Now this is very handy because it actually shows you your design at 100%. So I'm going to click on that now, and I can see that this is exactly how it would look on a screen. So if you're designing a website, it's very important to keep an idea of what it looks like at 100%. You can sometimes get lost in the different ratios when you're zoomed in. So make sure you always go back and have a look around your design at 100%. On the top here on the tab that we looked at earlier, it shows you the actual percentage that you're zoomed in. It's also at the bottom left hand corner here. So if I press Control and plus again, I can see now I'm at 200%. Control and minus, and I'm out to 66%. And this is actually the zoom amount we've been using while we've been doing the previous screencasts. So have a look at that. Make sure you always zoom in, zoom out, and then right click with the zoom tool selected and do actual pixels, and then you'll know this is exactly what your design will look like. Great, so that's zooming and panning. Now let's look at a real example of when you would use this. Now I'm going to select the zoom tool again, and this time I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to drag a box around the two buttons here. Now these two buttons, you can see that the text is perfectly aligned, it's right in the middle. I know that because I'm zoomed in. It's sometimes harder to see if it's really in the middle if you're zoomed out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to move over to the right hand side to look at the other buttons. So hold down space and I'm just going to drag over, and here they are. Now these two buttons need a few changes, and this is something that we looked at in the previous screencast, which is moving and rotating. So the first one I'm going to do is button 1. So on the right hand side I'm going to open up the group for button 1, and I'm going to click on the words click me. Remember, you must select the layer before you can move it or change it. Now to move it, I'm going to use a shortcut key. I can use the toolbar, which is here, but it's very far away from my mouse. So I'm just going to click V, which is a shortcut for move. Then I'm going to use my keyboard arrow keys just to move it right in the middle, like that. It's a little bit harder if you use the mouse, so I like to use my keyboard keys because I know it's absolutely precise. Great, so let's move on to the next button. Again, I'm going to go to the layer, so I'm going to look for group 2, which is button 2. I'm going to open up the group, so just move down a little bit, and I'm going to select by me, which is the text in the middle of the purple button. Great, now the first thing I need to do is rotate it. To rotate it, I need the transform tool. But again, I prefer to use the shortcut. So I'm going to press Control and T, or Command and T if you're using a Mac. Now I don't want to go and try and do this myself. I want a little bit of help changing the direction of this. So I'm going to hold down Shift. Holding down Shift, and I'm going to drag to the left, and there we go, perfectly in line. Again, to finish what I'm doing, I could use the tick at the top right hand corner, or I can use the shortcut key, which is Command and Enter, and there we go. I've arranged the text perfectly. Now let me just do that again. I'm going to edit, step backwards, edit, step backwards. Okay, so first of all I selected click me, so click me there. I use my arrow keys to move it, knowing that I have the move command selected. Next I went to by me, and I click on there, and I press Control and T to select free transform. I held down Shift, and then I dragged the text to the left just to make it in line. Press Command and Enter, or Control and Enter to finish, and there we're done. Now this is a perfect time for me to do the actual pixels, because I want to see if these buttons look nice from 100%. So again, shortcut key, which is Z, and I'm selecting this tool at the bottom here on the toolbar. Right click and actual pixels, and I can see that those two buttons look perfect now. So we're ready to move on to our navigation bar. Now for the navigation bar, if I click and hold down space, I'm going to move over, I can see that two things need to be changed. First of all, we need to center align the text, make sure that's in the middle of the navigation bar. And then this arrow here represents how big the navigation bar needs to be. So we can see actually here that the navigation bar isn't quite as wide as we need it. Now to do this, I want a little bit more help, so I'm going to use the grid. So I'm going to go to View, Show, and then Grid. Now you'll see on this example, on this PSD, I've made the navigation bar in line with the grid just to help us actually align it properly. So again, I need to select the layer that I want to change. So I'm going to look down for navigation bar, and I'm going to look for Home, About and Portfolio, which is a text layer. Now, like I said before, I always like to do things very precisely, so I'm going to use the move command again by pressing V, and then I'm going to use my arrow keys on my keyboard to move the text down a little bit so it's right in the middle, and I'm going to move that. Oh, I can't quite see it. I think I need to zoom in. So Command and plus, and then I'm going to drag down just so I can see the home. Now it looks like I need to move this up just a little bit. Perfect. Now that allows me to be nice and zoomed in, and I can move over to the right hand side to then look at how much I need to change the width. Now, as we've looked at earlier, we use the free transform tool to make things wider. So again, select my layer first, and I'm going to use the free transform shortcut key, which is Control and T. So I'm going to drag that over like that just to meet the grid. Perfect. Command and plus to finish what I'm doing, and then I'm going to use Z again, right click, actual pixels. Now if I want to get rid of the grid, I just have to press another shortcut key, which is Command and H for hide, and lo and behold, we have a perfectly aligned navigation bar. So let's just do that one more time. So I'm going to go to Edit, Step Backwards, Edit, Step Backwards. There we go. Now, first of all, I want to see my grid. So I'm going to go to View, Show, and then Grid. And then I'm going to use the Zoom tool by selecting Z, and I'm going to do Control and plus. There we go. Hold down space to move over to the left hand side so I can see the word Home. Now, to move this layer, I must first select it. So I'm going to select my home layer, and then use the move command, which is V, and use the arrow keys on my keyboard to move this down very, very precisely. And I can see that's right in the middle now. Again, I'm going to move over to the right hand side using the hand tool, and now I can see that the navigation bar needs to be moved over to the right. It needs to be transformed a little bit. Again, before I can change a layer, I must select it. So click on navigation bar, and then if you remember, the shortcut key for free transform is Control or Command and T. I'm just going to drag this over like that, and it's perfectly in line, and then when I'm done and I'm happy with it, press Command or Control and Enter. Now before we're happy with everything, we need to see it at 100%. So again, back to my zoom tool with Z, right click, actual pixels, looking good already, but still I want to see it without this messy grid, so I'm going to do Control and H, Command and H if you're using a Mac, and look at that, it's perfect, it's lovely. So you can see how important it is to have the zoom and pan tool, and if you get used to using that tool very naturally, it will really speed up the way that you use Photoshop. So that's everything for zooming and panning. I hope you'll be able to use that and use it effectively when you're designing your websites. Next in the series, we're going to be looking at shapes and custom shapes. If you want any more information on our courses or our screencasts, please go to www.webcoursesbangkok.com. Thanks for watching. Bye.